Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday night's Paranormal Question of the Day. We'll be right back right after a short message.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Paranormal Question of the Day. We do live podcasts with live guests, live paranormal investigations as well. We do product reviews, so sit back, enjoy the channel, get popcorn, get a soda, and I'll see you soon.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome Monday. This is the first day back off of a nice long 9-day weekend, or week, I should say. Get maybe 2 of those a year. But other than that, it's I'm happy that Monday's almost over. But we have an awesome show tonight for you guys. Tonight we have Mr. Shawn Ellis with us. He is from the External X Wolfpack Paranormal. So we can say Wolfpack in the house.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Shawn? Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. I just got off a four-day vacation. I didn't have quite 9 days, but I had 4, and it's been going pretty well.
That's nice. That's always good when stuff like that happens and you get to have the vacation and all that awesome stuff, it's just the way it should be, right? And get more of those.
Right. You don't want to work all the time. All work and no fun makes a dull person.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly it. Trying to share out this show here. Hopefully, people can come on in. Do you ever have problems with StreamYard every once in a while?
I don't really have problems with StreamYard more than I do Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, see, StreamYard it's driving me absolutely batty lately. Like today, I was supposed to be able to share on BB3 TV. Won't even do it. I'm like, Seriously? So now I'm trying to do that right now. Get that going. Maybe. Get everything all shared out here. Maybe. Oh, crap. Oh, well, we got people in chat. So we'll deal with that later. I just shared it on my page. Anyhow, so we have you in here.
Me.
Huh?
And the other one's me too. Both of them's me. I spelled everyone wrong the first time. Trying to get them to come in.
So let's talk a little bit about the paranormal in general. Do you feel that the paranormal is going in the right direction, or do you think it needs to take a step back and look at things a little bit differently in today's investigations versus the way they were 20 years ago? Or should we flip-flop and go back to the way it was 20 years ago?
I see some good stuff with how people do their investigations right now, but I also see good stuff from back in the day from when Tesla does stuff and how he did his experiments, which is very interesting when he done stuff with the Tesla coil and talking about portals and etc. So I think a combination would be better. I mean, depending on what the circumstances is and where you're at, and kind of feel it out and go with your gut.
Yeah, I hear you with that. And, do you, speaking of like portals and stuff, what's your view and intake of portals? Because I'm kind of on the fence of it in a way. I guess it's more or less because if I see one, I hopefully can see one at some point in time. I want to walk through it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Right. The portals that I've seen so far have to do with mirrors One of the first investigations that we've done this year as a team was at a residential house, and we closed 3 portals that were in that house. And one of the reasons there was portals is because the mirrors could see each other, and you could actually feel the heat off them, and you could feel the vibration off them. So we end up closing them and repositioning the mirrors in different locations so they couldn't see each other, and it helped out a lot.
That's interesting because I know there's a location out in Nebraska, I want to say, that has a room specifically nothing but mirrors. And I don't know if you've been in that location at all. I can't really say what it is at the tip of my tongue, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've heard people making whole rooms just with mirrors. Uh, if you know what you're doing, that's fine, but it will create a portal. And one of the things I've learned uh, taking shaman classes is the fact that what is in front of you is behind you. What is to the right of you is to the left of you. What is above you is below you. So everything is actually in dimensional form. So
interesting. Um, so what would you say about today's shows compared to what they were 20 years ago today? Do you feel that they've come a long way, or do you feel that some of them just should not be out there anymore?
the ones that I watch, I think they do a good job. I don't think they're, how do I say, fixing the evidence. I think they're doing it live right there, which is good. I'd rather have it live on the spot so you can see exactly what's going on and no tampering with anything. That's the way our team does it when we're live. What you see is what you get. So, but yeah, there's a few of them I think set things up a little bit once in a while.
Do you have a favorite one?
A favorite one that I watch?
Yeah.
Let's see. I like Eternal Paranormal right now. I like watching theirs. They're authentic. Everything's original. What you see is what you get. They don't tamper with none of their stuff. I've known them for a long time, and they do a hell of a job. So, but I do like watching them when I get a chance, and then, like I said, a few others as well. But the stuff you see on TV, you know, being an investigator, and I'm sure you'll probably vouch for this, it gives you that suspense. They play that music right before it happens, or try to get you intensified, and then all of a sudden, here it is, you know, to get you going. I'd rather just see a plain Jane investigation myself. I mean, if you don't get nothing, you don't get nothing. But I mean, you got to try. I mean, don't go with expectations to get something when you go, because sometimes you might not get anything at all.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I think that's the biggest misconception of the paranormal, is that you think that everywhere you go, you're going to get something no matter what. And that's just not the case.
Yeah. I mean, we've been on some cases before that we didn't get anything. Not one thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, you gotta check it out. You gotta investigate. You gotta see what you come up with. And then who knows? That whole night you might not think you got anything at all. And then you go across your EVPs or something, or your recordings, and it's like, oh shit, I did catch something. And then you gotta go back later, check it out, and see if you can actually replicate it or find out why it happened.
Yeah. I hear that. I just a lot of times it's mostly recorder. It's not too often I get anything on video footage, but it's gonna happen at some point. You know, I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, I think so far we've got a little bit of video, and some of it we haven't got through all of it yet from the last investigation we went to, because we went to Old Salem Cemetery, and we went to Blue Ridge Cemetery over in Chillicothe, Illinois. And I posted some of the pictures that we got, and then we kind of got to still go through some of the video. I haven't seen a lot of it yet because Leslie's the one that's got the camera for the video. So, and if she does come across something, she'll normally post it or send it to me. So, but
very cool, very cool. Apparently, everybody's busy.
it's all right.
Where's everybody?
I've had it where it's been quiet for a while, and toward the end it just goes boom, and then all of a sudden the replays get hit a lot. So that's all good.
So let's start in the beginning. What was your first paranormal experience? Did you have anything when you were a child, or is it more when you got in your teens? What really got you into stuff?
Mine actually happened after just about the time I turned 21. I kind of went through a traumatic experience. Not going to really go into detail about that, but not long after that, I had an option. Kind of, my parents says, if you want to choose a religion, it's up to you. So I ended up going to church. I ended up getting baptized on Easter Sunday when I turned 21. And not long after that, I had actually a dream that I was sitting in the last pew of the church, and there was a mist that kind of come across the ground. The doors opened up where I sat in the last pew next to the doors. My grandmother walks in like she's in her late 20s, no illness, looking young, no walkers, no canes, no nothing. Walks in, she sits down right next to me in the pew, and she said, "Shawn, don't you worry about a thing. You're going to make it." And we've had some experiences not long after she died where I came home and Mom says, "Did you hear the washer on when you came home?" And I said, "No." But when she got up the next morning, the washer and dryer was running, and it had my grandma's linens in it. And they were just running for no reason. We've seen apparition. Well, I wouldn't say full apparitions. Her glasses floating in the hallway of her old house. And she was buried with those glasses. So that was kind of interesting as well. So that pretty well piqued my interest in all that, even though I believed in paranormal stuff prior, but that's what really set it off right there.
Oh. So what was your first investigation, and if you can recall, what piece of gear did you use at the time?
My first investigation was with an older team that I was on. It was a young man that was 12 years old, and I pulled up to the location and I was watching him from the car, and he was pacing back and forth. He would go one direction down the street, stop, like all of a sudden he was like, "What am I standing here for?" Turn around, go back the other direction, do the same thing, and then all of a sudden he'd just walk home. Well, that's kind of not normal. Then we found out when I was there that the young man had an attachment, and a shaman was there that night. And I literally watched a shaman take away the attachment the little boy had, because the guy that died in the house wanted to relive his life because it was so bad when he was younger. He wanted to relive his teen life through him. And they had video where you actually seen the spirit, the SLS, walk away from the back and literally walk out of the back of the room after it hugged him and his mom, and just leave the room after the shaman did his ceremony. So that's the first investigation I ever got to see. So that was really interesting for the first time seeing something like that happen.
That is very interesting. I mean, it's not too often you get to see stuff like that on an investigation. I also bring that up too is like, if it ever were to happen where you would need to perform an exorcism, do you think you might be able to do so, or is that something that just say, I'm not comfortable doing it? We need to get somebody else. Hopefully, they can do it on the spot.
Well, there's a difference between attachments and actual full blown exorcist type things. Attachments, I can take care of myself. I'm capable of doing that. I had a Reiki master on the old team that was my mentor that taught me a lot of things. And I also have been taking shamanic healing classes and stuff for the last year now. And I've learned a lot of different techniques. And I've been able to do that for my old team, take away attachments from people, even some of my old teammates as well. So,
Wow, that's pretty good though. I mean, it makes it a lot more comfortable, and when you go on an investigation, knowing that somebody at least has a background to really help that person out when they're channeling or something like that, and get an
right.
attachment to them. It's very comforting to have that.
Yeah, when my old mentor stepped down from the old team, I kind of took the mantle of her spot and started doing study and research. And like I said, she did very well on what she taught me, and she was very good at what she did. So, yeah, we it's been very interesting. I've seen a lot of interesting things.
Yeah. Hey, Lori. Glad you could find the show. I think it's only sharing or playing on Paranormal Brew and the YouTube page. So, hey, Tom. Yeah, I had an issue with StreamYard today. Anyhow, welcome to the show, guys. So, gear wise, so do you have a favorite kind of gear that you like to use at the present time, and is there something that you think is just useless, and you know why is it being used for paranormal use?
Actually, the best gear that I like to use is myself. I can feel things when I walk into a room. I can feel if it's heavy, the thickness. I can feel the energy in the air. I can kind of tell if it's bad or good. So, instrument wise, I kind of rely on myself more than a regular instrument. And if I have to have a favorite pick, I would say it'd be a REM pod because you set it down on the ground, nobody's standing around it. It's something has to touch it in order to make it activate. So it's actually showing that something's actually there at the time. So that would probably be my favorite is the REM pod for that reason. Um, SLSs, it's kind of hit and miss with me with that, just because some people look at them and there's a ghost right there, or there's one right there, instead of sitting there deciphering exactly what it is because it's mapping out a leg of a chair or an arm of a chair or something like that, and they think it's a ghost, and it's not. It's better when there's nothing around and you actually see an SLS figure there. So mixed feelings about the SLS.
I tend to agree with you on that. The XLS, the newer version of the SLS, is a lot better. More 3D mapping. I think it gives off and shows a lot more detail as to what the SLS can do. The only thing I
Mm-hmm.
don't like is it's got to have a mirroring function where it can mirror it the opposite way, so that way when you're looking at something that's on the right, it's on the right instead of it's on the left.
That's interesting.
So
Kind of give
that's
it a full rounded 3D effect if that's what it's doing. It's kind of when it's mapping it.
yeah, it's really cool. I think you'd like the XLS. I mean, that would be the one I would go if I had to absolutely get one. That's what I would end up getting. Um, don't get me wrong, though. Did have a friend of mine caught um, something on the SLS, which is kind of cool at the jail part where they in this one cell there was a guy that hung himself, and it showed
Right.
on the SLS looking like somebody hung themselves.
Hmm. That's interesting.
So
I, I've
yeah,
seen one. I've seen one where we were at the Witches Circle in Peoria, and I've seen an SLS where it's hanging from the tree as well. But like I said, you've got to be able to just to decipher the trunk of that tree, and if it's actually got something else there besides that, and not having it overlap. So, because like I said, people confuse things sometimes when they look at it. It's like, wow, there's a ghost right there, and you look at it and it's like mapping out the tricycle, or it's mapping out a footstool or a leg or the coat rack in the corner, and it's like, no, it's just the coat rack. It's mapping out, and it's like you just kind of got to watch what it's really trying to map out before you say, "Hey, yeah, that's what it is."
yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, So for those who are in chat and for those who are listening, in the background, do you want to kind of give a rough estimate of how you go through an investigation, like from start to finish, like how you get yourself motivated? Do you do some stuff prior before going to the location? Do you do stuff when you get to the location, and what do you do after you leave the location?
First thing I kind of personally do is I'll take a salt bath and kind of get myself in the mindset before I leave. I also carry obsidian, tiger's eye, and some other stones with me as well, because I believe in how they can do things as well. Um, Now, since I'm a team lead, I go in and I'll talk with the client to see what's going on first before the team kind of gets there, and kind of get a feeling of what's going on with them and how things are going. And then I'll talk with the team, say, hey, this is the situation. I won't really give them a lot of the information that I know, and see if they actually come up with some of the things that's been questioned about, and etc. And that seems to be working pretty well. We have someone, Miss Leslie, she'll go in and start setting up equipment and laser grids and stuff like that if needed. And sometimes I'm normally on the camera, so it doesn't bother me. Um, but I'd rather watch them guys kind of do things, because I got a lot of rookies on the team to begin with. So kind of being a mentor, watching how things go, and making sure everybody's safe for one. And before we leave, to make sure everything is cut away from us, I'll take selenite and I'll cut it away from everybody. If it's a really heavy place like we've been to, Blue Ridge Cemetery was one of them. I made sure we cut all the negative energy away with some selenite to make sure nothing followed us home as well. And take a salt bath maybe when I get home again, if depending on how I feel. But I noticed one thing with me: as long as you have a high energy field around you, you won't get an attachment. It's when you're at your lowest, you're tired, you're weak, that's when it hits you. I have noticed that a lot because, like I said, I have taken away several attachments from people, and in every case, they've been kind of down and out or tired or etc. And that's why they got them. Some people I've known that they provoked them and actually brought them on themselves, which I don't recommend anybody provoking a spirit. I've seen a spirit knock somebody on their ass during an investigation one time because they were provoking them, and I do not advise anybody to be doing that. That's not right. And yeah, and once you invite a spirit into you, you're kind of like an open door, and that's not good either. So you always want to keep yourself and your energy at the highest you possibly can when you go into places, because you're better off when you do that.
Now, speaking of provoking, do you think that there's sometimes a good decision at a certain location to provoke, but be more tactful about it, um, just to kind of get something moving? Because if the air's stale and nothing's moving, some people purposely would do it. Me, I would use a Tesla coil. Sorry, a Tesla coil. People like to
Mhm.
pick on me when I say that, because they think I'm saying something else. um,
Hmm.
so, what do you think about those choices there in that aspect?
I don't. I don't think using a Tesla coil is provoking anything because I actually have one myself that I use. It's actually kind of energizing the room and everything around it, and actually giving them the capability to actually come up with the words, say something, maybe move an object, because that's actually supplying energy in that area. So using a Tesla coil, I don't think is a bad idea. It's just depending on where you're at and what you're actually doing. Because if you actually do it the wrong place and there's something bad there, you got a problem. And trying to get it taken care of before you leave is another situation sometimes. So you never want to use that Tesla coil during a place that has a really heavy feeling, or you have something that's got a bad intent in it, and you can actually feel it, and everybody on the team as well, because that is not cool. Because you don't want to go into somebody's house and provoke something and not be able to get rid of it or take care of the situation before you leave. You want to be able to help them out, make sure they understand what's going on, and take care of the problem if and all possible. Lucky for me, if I ever come across that situation, I have several people I can get a hold of that would help me out. And if it's way above my head, but so far so good. I've been able to do things on my own with the team, so that's a good thing.
Fair answer. Fair answer. Um, so, how many residential cases have you done, and is that something that you like to do residential cases, or you think that those are more typically a lot harder and more hit the team a little more hardcore?
Probably between the old team and now myself, I did a lot of residentials. I actually like residentials. Um, Actually going into the place when I wasn't the lead at the time, going into the place and feeling it out, sensing what's there, and coming up with solutions to help get rid of the problem was really a good thing for me. I like doing that a lot. And now, like I said, that I'm the lead of the new team, which is the Eternal X Wolf Pack, and that's been on since January of this year. We've had one, two, three residentials and one property that we've actually done. And we've done a couple cemeteries already, which is really cool. I like doing cemeteries depending on where they're at and what's there. Sometimes you see a lot of shadow people there. Sometimes you see a lot of energy there. You can see some portals depending on where they're at. I've seen portals between two trees because the energy between the two trees, you can actually see a shimmer between them, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I like residentials. The team seems to like them, and I'm not opposed to either one of them. I actually kind of like both of them so far.
Okay. Um, so what's it like doing an outside property type deal, like set of woods or something like that, or uh, like you mentioned, a cemetery. What's the difference with those versus a residential?
Well, like Salem Cemetery over in Chillicothe area, there's nothing around it. You're out in BFE. So the first thing we want to do is make sure everybody's safe. Everybody's got a team partner or someone next to them and don't wander off too far from each other. Set up the equipment, start seeing what you get. Sometimes you'll see shadows walking among the trees, and then you kind of got to decipher, okay, is that a deer out there? Is it a wolf? Is it a coyote out there kind of messing around? Sometimes you'll see eyes out there from the reflection of your uh, flashlight, and then you can kind of decipher what they are. Thank you for asking. Yeah, thanks. Um, but yeah, safety is the number one priority with all that. You definitely don't want to come out of a cemetery with an attachment. I've been to probably 3 cemeteries and 2 with the new team. As soon as you got into the cemetery, you can't see more than a foot in front of your hand. It's just pitch black, and yeah, it's interesting. So just got to be cautious because, like I said, you're out there in the middle of nowhere, so you got to be safe.
Yeah. So, do you believe there's a difference between nighttime investigation and daytime investigation? Do you think you get more during the night or more during the day, or is it just all depends on the person that's in the location and what you like best?
I think it could probably be equal depending on how much energy is at the location. I don't. Sometimes it don't really matter if it's during the day or the night. The only thing is with night is if you got night cameras and stuff like that, you can probably pick up more in your laser grids and seeing stuff. But otherwise, like I said, if there's a lot of energy in a certain location, it's going to happen during the day or night, regardless if you're there or not. So, like I said, depends on what it is and where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. Edinburgh Manor is one of those places where it's both, and that's what I like. Uh, Watching the difference between how the nighttime investigation goes and the daytime investigation goes, because I actually did a live with Kat for both because I wasn't able to be there that weekend. I was supposed to be there at a weekend. I'm like, hey, I got
Mm-hmm.
COVID, can't go, but let's try this and see how and show the difference between the two investigations. It worked out pretty nice, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so do you have a bucket list at all? Do you have a lot of places you want to go to? Is there places that you've been that you might not even, say, hey, I've been there, but I don't think I'll go back?
Actually, probably the number one that's moved to the top is I'd like to go to Egypt. I'd like to see the pyramids. I would like to see some of the hieroglyphics on the walls. I'd like to see some of the things that I have experienced in dreams that I've seen that a certain person here lately has been talking about that I've actually seen and he's kind of verified. So I'd actually kind of like to see that myself in person and see what connection I actually have with that besides the dreams I've had going back into my Akashic records and stuff like that. So that would definitely probably be number one on my list right now is going to the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah, I think you're familiar with Mike Ricksecker, right?
Actually, no.
Okay, so he's part of a show on Ancient Aliens, and he was been out there. I think he's done an episode about Egypt and all that stuff with the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be
Mm-hmm.
something you might want to get into, and definitely would be a great guest to go on your show.
Yeah, one of the ones I've kind of been watching and keeping an eye on lately is named Billy Carlson or Carson. He's supposed to be the fourth leading person in the world to be able to read hieroglyphics, and he's been translating a lot of stuff that has been mistranslated. So it's interesting in watching things he says and kind of comparing some of the things that I've learned in the past and etc. But I definitely will check out that other guy.
Yeah, he's very cool. Very It gets very in depth with a lot of his stuff that he talks about, and he's got a few books out there. He's also a very well known guy about talking about shadow people and stuff like that too. So um, most definitely, he's pretty cool. He's based out of Ohio, I believe.
See, I've heard kind of several different things about shadow people, and one of the things I've heard about shadow people, and I don't know if you've even heard about it, some say they could possibly be from the future or from our past, and that's why they are the shadows the way they are. But then I've also ran across some that are actually guardians of places as well. So it's like I said, it depends on how you want to decipher and what's going on at the location you're at too. So
Right, right. I mean, you know, by the past, I mean, it could be stuff with like your past life, you know, and stuff like that. I could definitely
mhm.
understand where you're coming from on that, and that's also a very
Yeah,
interesting topic in itself. Um,
yeah. I have
but
had a chance to go back into my Akashic records and see some of my past. So yeah, it is very interesting. If you ever get a chance to do that, it's worth it.
yeah, I had one about maybe 10 years ago. I was at at a con in Oshkosh here, and there's a psychic lady that came up to me. It's like, "Hey, I can read your past life. You want to sit down for a little bit?" Sure, why not? First show ever. Let's try it. And then she turned around and
Mhm.
was like, "Yeah, you were a knight back in the mid ages, you know, medieval times, and you know, you were stabbed from behind. That's how I was killed." So, which makes sense because every time I go up the stairs, I always have a feeling that somebody's behind me all the time.
Right. I actually had a chance to be put on there when they did mine, and it's kind of interesting that you said the knights because I actually seen the Knights of the Round Table where I was sitting at. So that's kind of an interesting thing there as well
Yeah, it's pretty
for
cool.
for one of my.
Right, right. Uh, so what would you say has been your most gratifying case that you've done, and you know, and what made it so gratifying?
The third case of this year with the new team, we had a elderly lady. She's in her 80s. She called us and said she had activity in her house. And the team and I got together. We showed up, and the team likes to go live all the time. But like I said, I kind of got there a little early, and I sat down and talked with the elderly lady, and she was telling me about what was going on. And you know how you walk into a house and you can definitely feel a heavy presence if there's something bad there. You can definitely feel it because it's how you breathe. It's the energy in the room. It's got a lot of negativity. And one thing noticed with her house, it was not negative at all. So I knew it wasn't something bad. So I told her, I said, we'll come in, we'll set up her equipment, and we'll see what we find. So Leslie set up a laser grid in a room and etc. And two of the ladies went into the back room area after me and one of the others walked the property because I wanted to make sure there wasn't nothing on the property that was, how do I say, brought on there or sitting there that didn't look right or something abnormal. I just wanted to make sure that she knew what was out there if there was anything strange to begin with. But they were in the back room and over the Ovilus, they were getting chatter. It's like demon, uh, leave, stuff like that. And sometimes I've noticed when it says that, sometimes it's kids. They're trying to scare you. They want you to leave. They don't want you there. And the more that they started talking with them, the more it started making sense because it sounded more like kid stuff, not adult stuff. And I happened to be sitting in the kitchen with the lady of the house, and she heard some of them talking in the background. And she said, "Can I go back there and check out what's going on?" I said, "Sure." So she put her walker aside, and I walk her to the back room, and she goes, "Hello," and it goes old. It come over the odd list. It just goes old. She goes, "I'm not that old." And all of a sudden, you hear this hit, hit. So right then, we definitely knew it was a kid, or at least a couple of kids. And we come up with a couple of kids' names. It was a boy and a girl. Can't remember exactly what their names was. Leslie wrote them down in Neural, but we come up with a boy's name and a girl's name for sure. And they kept sitting there talking, and she kept listening. And we had the REM pod in there, and we would ask questions like red for or blue for yes, green for no, or whatever color we picked. And they would actually ask and answer by how it lit up. So we were getting positive answers. So she kind of thought that was interesting. And we walked back into the kitchen. And she goes, "So what do you think it is?" And I said, "Well, I definitely think it's a couple kids." And she goes, "Well, what are you going to do with them?" And I said, "Well, there's a couple things we can do with them." I said, "I can leave them here, or I can push them off with energy off the property and we can christen the ground." And we've had quite a bit of luck doing stuff like that. And she goes, "Oh." And she just sat there and she looked up and she goes, "Well, they can stay if they want, if they're kids." I was like, "Okay." I said, "But you got to remember one thing." I said, "Those noises you hear, the popping you hear, the tapping on the wall, the door squeaking a little bit or tugging on your pant leg, it's them wanting attention. They're looking at you as being a grandma because they're young kids."
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "I never thought of it that way." And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Another thing you could do," I said, if you want them to stay, I said, "Pick up a children's book and read it just out loud once in a while, just for the fun of it." She goes, "Not a bad idea." And I said, "Another thing," I said, "Play some music during the day. Anything." She goes, "Oh, Shawn," she goes, "I play music every day at noon." And she says, "I play the old country music and the old country songs and stuff like that." I said, "Well, that's something they like. Spirits, you know, act with music and stuff once in a while. It's like an activation thing." And I said, "I don't think they're going to cause any problems, but you just got to remember that they're kids." And she goes, "All right." So we pick up all the equipment and we got to sitting down, and Leslie was talking for a little bit, and she goes, "Thank you for coming over and thank you for doing this and etc." And she goes, "I really appreciate it." She said, "I was so scared that you were going to find something bad in my house." And I said, "Well, I told you at the beginning," I said, "it didn't have that bad feeling whatsoever." I said, "You have that warm feeling of this house." I said, "I definitely, for sure, it's kids." So anyway, she gave everybody on the team a hug and we walked out, and I was like, "That's cool." And she said also right before we walked out, she goes, "I got your name on my refrigerator." She said, "I'll recommend you guys to everybody. But," she said, "if I have a problem with these kids, I'll call you." And I said, "Okay." So I let it go for about a week and a half. And I actually went back over there and I knocked on the door and said, "Hey, it's Shawn." She goes, "Oh, hi." And she goes, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm fine." I said, "I just come back to check to see how you're doing." And she goes, "Oh, I'm doing really well." She said, "I'm happy. I'm content. I'm not going to sell my house anymore." And I said, "Well, that's a good thing." I said, "You really wouldn't want to do that." But she says, "You guys actually explained what was going on here. And, now that I understand what's going on here, I feel better staying here. I don't feel scared anymore." And, that was the best feeling in the world for, being a new lead with a new team of rookies at the time and accomplishing something like that. I gave my team all the credit in the world for doing what they did. They did a hell of a job that night.
Wow, that's a really neat story about the investigation and stuff and how it went through, and uh, it's nice to hear stuff like that in a very positive way about uh, start to finish. I mean, hey, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's probably my all-time favorites at this point.
yeah. Is there been a place that really kind of throws you for a loop that you feel sometimes when you get there, like, I gotta leave?
I've never been to a place yet that I have to leave so far.
That's good.
I have
That's
been to a place here in town that another team called our old team in to help, and we found a lot of negative stuff in that house, linked to Charles Manson, John Wayne Gacy, and some stuff I really can't say online.
Yep, that's
Um,
fine.
but definitely it had to do with a ring of sorts. I'll leave it at that. Um, we got rid of the negative energy in there, and we still kind of think there's stuff on that property because originally, before the original team that did it, they found a half a body in the house, is what caused it
Oh,
all. And it was on the
jeez.
news. And the original team went in and they got a lot of eerie stuff in there, and that's why they called the old team I was on there. And it ended up being like a 12-hour investigation, and we actually sprayed some luminol on the wall and actually found blood stains on the wall still, along with some of the articles we found. And like I said, we took the negative out there, but there's still maybe stuff on that property, but we can't dig it up. So
Wow. It's almost like the Monroe House in a way. Remember that show
mm-hmm.
with Dick Roth?
Yeah. What was really weird about it is right after I got married and I got laid off, I actually lived 2 houses around the corner from that house and not even realized it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it's not that expensive to go
Yeah.
investigate either for 8 hours.
No, that one was actually for free because, like I said, the people wanted it taken care of, and it actually went clear back to the slave times because the two houses, there's a house on the corner, there's a house right next to it, and there was actually a tunnel that went between the two houses as a servants' entrance to the houses, so it kind of went underground between the two. But that's actually been buried in, so you can't get across that anymore. But yeah, like I said, I still think there might be some stuff on that property.
Oh. Do you have a favorite location in the state of Illinois? And have you ever been to the Cranberry House and Farm in Nauvoo, Illinois?
I haven't been there yet. Um, my favorite so far, I would actually have to say the one I just talked about here where I live at. It was a residential house. Is probably the most intense investigation we've ever been on.
Wow. Yeah, I think you like the Cranberry House and Farm. Rebecca Williamson, she owns that property, and it's right on the Mississippi River. Huge property. Oh, great place. You'll
Well,
like
there'd
that out
definitely
there.
be a lot of energy. There'd definitely be a lot of energy because of the water there. So
Yeah, and then she's also have Indian burial mounds on her property as well.
yeah, we had a residence when I was on the old team as well. That was down on the river in Chillicothe area, and we found a tunnel that was actually covered up, and we actually released the spirits that were in there, and they actually came over the ovulus, the names of the ones that was in there. So that was kind of cool too.
Let's see. What is your favorite horror movie and why? If you watch horror.
Um, I do watch horror movies, and I got a lot of them I actually like, to be truthful. I just watched one yesterday that was pretty interesting called The Box. And they found this Japanese box, and it had a yin and yang symbol on it. And it granted the person 7 wishes. And they couldn't translate the rest of it. And she started doing this wishing, and things started happening. And what she didn't realize is every time one of her wishes would come true, somebody or something she knew died. So it was like the yin and yang effect. And they finally figured out what it was that was doing it and causing all of it. And actually, by the end of the movie, she actually died. Because it actually said it would take her soul at the end on the box. That was one of the last things inscribed on that box, that it would have your soul. And she thought she had a beat, so the final wish she wished for, she wished she'd go back to before she found the box. And she did. She got the box. She found it. She remembered everything that she was supposed to do, took it to her friend that was helping her try to get it translated, said, get rid of it. Don't show it to anybody. Just bury it. Just get rid of it. And when she did, she turned around, and that's when the car hit her. She was done.
Oh, jeez. What an ending.
That was kind of interesting. Yeah, I actually like a lot of scary horror movies, honestly. I think my all-time favorite series is not really a super horror movie, but I like the Underworld series with the witches, or not the witches, the werewolves and the vampires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not too bad. A little cliche. I do like a lot of the Conjuring movies. I think they have a lot of good stuff on them. I can't wait till the 4th one comes out, which is going to be the last one.
What do you think of The Nun?
What's that?
What did you think of The Nun?
I liked The Nun. It wasn't too bad, actually. It scared a lot of my family members, but it didn't scare me. 2, they could have done without 2.
I was kind of on the fence with The Nun, but I do like The Pope's Exorcist. That's actually pretty good with Russell Crowe. That's really good. I liked it when
he's in a new one.
He was taunting that demon. Yeah, I liked it when he was taunting that demon. They brought that pig in. He says, "Oh, you can't possess that pig. You can't possess that pig." And then he did what he did to that pig. I was like, I like that idea.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. It was a very interesting and definitely different. Hey, Moose. Definitely
Moose,
different. It was a different concept of an Exorcist movie.
Another good one that I actually seen in the theaters is called Imaginary. Check that
I haven't
out.
seen that
Somebody
one.
did the research. Somebody did their research on that. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of actually things that could really fall into our line of work. Somebody did their research a little bit on this one.
I'll have to look for that one. So I'd like to give out a few fun questions. And I usually do this for every podcast. So what is the one object, in the whole world that you would never want to be haunted? Can be anything.
That I would never want to be haunted.
Yep.
I'd have to say right now, probably my dog.
That's a good one. You don't want Cujo.
Yeah. I mean, he wakes me up at 3:00 every morning growling stuff as it is. And I'd hate to turn around and wake up one morning and he's sitting there just looking at me in the face like, All right, buddy, it's your turn.
Yeah, very true, very true. Number one answer. So
considering he's a Great Pyrenees and he weighs 88.5 pounds, so
oh, that's a heavy dog.
yeah.
Number one answer right now is toilet.
Okay.
Hey, Carmen.
Unless snakes come up through it.
Yeah, a head coming up and grab you right in the tush. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta bite you in the ass.
Now, I have to say the weirdest ones that are out there is people are bringing up sex toys.
I'm
like,
know,
okay.
That kind of opens Pandora's box.
Exactly.
Depending on who you're talking to, who said it, yes.
Oh man, it's like right out of the blue. This one lady, it was on a radio show, and they threw up my question, and without hesitation without it, butt plug, right out of her mouth. I'm like, do you want to think about that for a second? No, right out of her mouth, butt plug.
Okay.
So I'm like, so
I would have to say that's definitely the number one interesting answer you probably got.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'm surprised someone else hasn't said anything from like Austin Powers, if you remember one scene in that.
Yeah.
So, so on the flip side of that question, what would you want to be haunted?
I would probably say maybe a family heirloom.
Ooh.
Or because that may carry your family members with it or etc. So that would be kind of interesting. I'd say maybe a family heirloom.
That's a interesting one. I don't think I've ever gotten that before. New one. That's a new one. I like it. Last one. What is the one object in the world you would never want to hold?
My ex-wife.
Ouch. Whoa. Hey, Rich.
Again.
Wow. We're trending on water on that one. Good thing she's not watching.
I wouldn't care if she was. I haven't spoke with her for 4 years, and that's a good thing.
Wow, that's another unique one.
I've been divorced, let's see, my daughter's 26, 20 years already, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a good one. So, Sean, what you got coming? What's that?
I said, I'm just being honest. You asked.
I know. It's the first I've ever heard someone say that. Ex-wife. Oh, usually it's somebody that's say about like anything from like the Holocaust or anything like that, or the Vatican, you know.
Uh, no, I would say I'm gonna stick with that question or that answer, I should say.
I like it though; it's funny. Um, so, Sean, what you got coming up to let the people know what you got going on, and how can they get a hold of you?
Well, tomorrow night I actually have a podcast on Tuesday night, and I have Miss Annie Waters from Lotus Switch Paranormal. Her and her friend will be on the show tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central. Let's see what else is going on here. I have another podcast this coming Sunday at normal time, and then I have one, etc. But the 20th, I will be at Broadhead Manor in Wisconsin with some of the people I know up there. Miss Jamie Lynn Keller, Paranormal Exposure, and those guys will all be up there. And July 27th, I'll be with Eternal Paranormal at the Rock Island YMCA. So I'll be exploring with them guys. And let's see what else we got coming up. August 3rd, I'll be in Keysburg, Illinois with Jamie Lynn Keller with Masonic Lodge that we're going to. And in September, I will be going to Atlanta with Pam Harris, Lori Bragg, Adam Ramos, and Maddie Vasquez on and one of my teammates will be going with me on that one, and we're going to have an investigation there. So
Very nice.
It's going to get busy.
I'd say. How could they get a hold of you if someone's looking for you to go into their property?
Actually, you can look on the Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal on Facebook page. I'm on there. You can look under Shawn Ellis on my personal page. I've got our logos on there. I kind of converted a little bit over for some of our main team page to my personal page a little bit, so I can kind of have a little bit of both in case something happens. And you can also find us on the YouTube channel under Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal as well.
All right. Awesome. So I like to usually end the show with the guest to give a special message to the audience in the chat and who are listening, and just say, hey, whatever you want to come out and give them influence to do the investigations in paranormal, or however you like to say it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, our team is willing to help anybody that needs help. We're not afraid to help out anybody that needs it. Also, stay true. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to your investigation. Because positive things will happen when you do that. When you start tampering with stuff, bad things start to happen, and you don't ever want people to look at you the wrong way. So stay true to yourself, your team, stick together and stay out of the drama, stay out of all that crap. And, para unity, be friends with everybody. There's no reason to not share information and stuff like that. So, work together. We're all in this as one big team, and we're all looking for the big one, and who knows, I may have information, Darren may have information that might link something that you've done or you've come across that might put the puzzle together. So, like I said, stay true to yourself and be willing to help people. It's always good to help people.
Absolutely. Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, folks, thank you for joining us for tonight's show with Mr. Shawn Ellis. And remember, you've been watching the Paranormal Brew, BB3 TV, and Phantasm Paranormal on YouTube. Next week, I won't be on next week. I'm doing this every other Monday. Might have a show this coming Friday night, so stay tuned for that, for the details tomorrow or Wednesday, coming in the next few days. And other than that, Shawn, thank you for being on tonight, and hope to have you back soon.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
All right, everybody.
A spot on Earth.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So we'll get you a spot coming up here pretty soon. Get you scheduled in.
Absolutely. I like being on podcasts. They're fun. So, he's Shawn, and I'm Darren. You all have a great Monday and a great work week, and I bid you all adieu. So long, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.